Everybody, I'm here with my friend Koya Webb. She's on the show today, and we were talking all about her new book. Where is it?
Let your fears make you fierce.
Here it is. Let your fears make you fierce. How to kind of turn your obstacles into seeds for growth. How to get past traumas. How to get
loved up.
Get loved up.
How to get loved up.
I love it.
More love.
She's teaching me how to love myself more. Yes.
Love her.
I love
this
you. Guys, tune in. You're going to love it. And don't forget to hit subscribe.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. It's part 2 of my interview with Koya Webb. We had a lot to talk about, so we decided to break it up into 2 on Kelsey's really smart advice.
Holla.
So this part is going to blow your mind. So everybody kick back, relax, and enjoy.
Enjoy the
Figure
ride.
out how to get loved up.
That's right.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about oneness, I was watching, I'm trying to watch like heavy things anymore because it just affects me so much. But I was watching Jon Stewart. Did you see his new show?
No.
It's called, I think, The Problem with Jon Stewart. And it was about the vets. And how left behind they are after they go out and they fight these wars for us. He was talking specifically about these burn pits and the men and women who are around the burn pits. It's like our version of Agent Orange, I guess. And the illnesses, the terminal illnesses that they're all suffering from. And the VA is just turning their backs on them because there's no scientific proof that benzene doesn't cause cancer, even though since the 80s we've known benzene causes cancer. And there's another harmful chemical. Anyway, I'm watching it and I'm bursting out heave crying. And the same thing happened when we saw the racial injustice, with George Floyd and all of that. Or when I see animal injustice, like I literally just heave. I can't even cry normal. I like heave cry. We were talking about this before the show, just like how when you have that kind of like too much empathy, I guess, or just too much,
It's never too much.
It can be heavy. So like for me, I kind of try to divorce myself from so much of it to a degree so that I can like stay sane because I don't have enough of the balance in love to be able to balance that out. So I have to be like, okay, if I can't have this, I can't have this. I got to just try to sit in here. I do a little of this, not that I don't do. And when I'm saying this, guys, for whoever's listening, I mean the love part.
Yeah.
And then I do keep up with stuff over here in like my Twitter feed a little, but I'm really trying to just live my healthiest life to try to kind of be the example in a sense of trying not to get so caught up in everything because the news is really there to breed fear and it's really all negative.
And what I realize is that I can't close my eyes to the pain that is happening in the world. I can't close my eyes to the darkness because in the darkness is where we learn to heal. When we go to sleep at night, it's when our bodies rest, rejuvenate, and recover. So in the darkness in the world, in the racial injustices, in what's happening with the vets, in, the people that have, with all the money and food we have in the world, that people are still starving, in that is our opportunity to heal. So we have to acknowledge it. We have to look at it. We can't close our eyes. And my goal in my life is take a little bit at a time, like take it in doses. Like anything, you have to take it in doses. When you lift weight, you can't lift everything.
Yep.
You can't feel like you're going to, save the world or lift 500 pounds the first time you step into the gym, but you can do a little bit each day.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people wherever you feel whatever brings tears to your eyes.
It's too many things,
Right.
Koya. That's my problem.
Girl, you got a big call in your life.
That's
but
the problem.
what you said, it's not a problem. It's an awareness that
Well, I get to do it through my show, which is good.
Your show.
So,
And you're like,
Marianne
look-
Williamson called me on that. She was like, you know what? You keep thinking you're not doing anything, but you are. And I was like, okay, thank you.
You are.
But-
You are. And like the thing is, what you're saying and admitting to me and everyone listening is that I need to love myself more. Because it's not just about doing, right? It's
Yeah.
also about loving. And there's something that's telling you, I need to love Maria more. I need more self-care.
Yeah.
I need more massages. I need more softness with myself. And so listen to that and lean into that, because that's your truth.
Yeah.
And you could say it, but if you don't do it, then it'll keep showing up.
Yeah.
You know, and you can, and a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm just going to do the money. And if it doesn't move your emotions, then that's not it. That's not it. Your body is speaking to you and telling you, I'm not okay in this area. And so now you have to speak back and then journal with what comes up after meditation. Why does this make me cry? What do I want to do? And just sit with yourself for a little while. But don't think you have to like at all shame yourself for crying, shame yourself for feel like it's too much. You got the heart for a reason, and you got all the blessings you have in your life for a reason. And the more that you accept it all, the messy, the tears, all, and you actually use them together. And it's just like a dance. It's just like you become in harmony of not being afraid and also not taking on too much. At the same time, finding the harmony in what you can take in and then what you can give. So it's giving and receiving love. And that's the heart chakra. So balancing the heart chakra is all about giving love, yes, but also receiving love. And I know people like you and I, we're givers, give.
Yeah.
And the reason we're crying and hurt is because we become depleted, because we're not pouring enough into ourselves to balance out all that giving we're trying to do. So we want to give more.
Yes, but you know you don't have any left.
We haven't filled up our cup enough to give them more. And so we're sad because you're like, but it's like your body like, but love me more. And honey, I will give you more to give.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. So whenever I found myself, when I look at stuff and I feel like, it's like, well, love yourself more. Love yourself more. And I promise you'll be blessed with more to give.
When are the moments where you really truly can recognize I need more love? What are like the telltale signs for you?
My eye jumps.
Meaning like it twitches?
It twitches.
Yeah. Mine was twitching like my whole trip, I think.
Yeah.
It was twitch.
That's like Koya gets 6 to 8 hours of sleep. If I'm working out a lot, dial back on the workout and do more Epsom salt baths, get more massages. Because a lot of times as an athletic, as a very fit person, you think, well, I'm being healthy if I like work out hardcore. But even when you work out hardcore, it's producing acid in your body when you need to be alkaline, right? So I realized that going hard sometimes need to be balanced with softness and self-care, which is Epsom salt baths, lavender rubs, oiling myself up, giving myself a self-massage, listening to solfeggio tunes or different mantra music. So I really have to pour in because I want to give so much. And literally, I'm in a place where Spirit spoke to me. I'm like, well, how much do I need to love myself? 50-50. 50-50. And look at your face. See, as much as you want to give, that's how much you have to love yourself. It can't be an imbalance. It can't be, I want to work 8 hours if you don't want to love yourself 8 hours. It has to, how else are you going to find harmony? How are we going to find harmony?
Well, this is a whole new way of living, Koya. This is a whole new path that we're not, like I said, we're not taught or used to. But it was something that I loved in the book, was when I started to see your ritual. And I was like, wait, her rituals take up hours. How is that humanly possible? How does she get anything accomplished?
Yeah.
And so if you can speak to that, I mean, tell everybody what your ritual is and then how you kind of run a successful business within all of that.
Well, I used to work from the moment I wake up, right on social media, checking my emails, and it's like, who needs me? All right, gotcha.
Koya, you are an American woman?
Yeah. Started. And every day, everything, do it. Okay, pouring until the time I went to sleep. That was my life for at least, embarrassingly, about 10 years. Just pouring, building. And then, once I start realizing that, my eyes jumping, I'm stressed out, even had an eating disorder. And because I was just, in toxic relationship after toxic relationship because of my fears and trauma I had yet to deal with. And so I was like, okay, I'm not okay. I'm sad. And even though I'm giving everything I could possibly have, I'm sad inside. And I don't love myself. And if anyone looked at me like, of course you love yourself. You do this for yourself. And I was like, no, I don't love myself because I'm not taking care of myself. Love is not just a word. Love is action, right? And so if you're not actively pouring into yourself, nurturing yourself, taking care of yourself 50% of the time, then you unfortunately are not loving yourself enough. And what happens is if you don't start there, then it goes to 40%. And then something happens in your family, you got to be there even more, then it's 30%. And then someone else a friend has a problem, then it's 20%. And then next thing you know, you're like, gosh, I'm barely even taking a shower. I'm barely even washing my hair. How did I get here? But it's like over time, it builds on you. And so what I did is I realized that in creating ritual and doing my study, if I take care of myself in the morning, I'm less likely to put something in front of me, right? People say, what's the best time to work out, right? And I used to say, whenever you can get it in. But now I say in the morning. Because if you put yourself first, I noticed when I do it in the evening, it wouldn't happen. When you put yourself first,
like
feel better.
first.
First. I mean, like first thing you wake up, meditation, breath work, tea, rituals. I feel like everyone should have a morning ritual in the morning. You're writing in your gratitude journal what you're grateful for, right? In the morning, your energy is higher, and we're energetic beings. Your energy is higher in the morning before you get to the news, before you get to your emails, before you get on social media. You're already built up with what you're grateful for. You're already built up breathing through any frustrations in your body. Maybe you've gotten yourself something to eat. You've already loved yourself up, right? So then when the world hits you, it hits you from a much stronger place than if you wake up already exhausted from the day before and you're like, what now? So my rituals, to answer your question, in the morning or at least 2 hours. So I wake up pretty much when the sun comes up, 6 to 7 most days. Some days I sleep in. But when I wake up, it's meditation, it's journaling. Sometimes I still get on social media, but usually it's like, oh, I want some inspiration, or I'm going to make my quote for the day or whatever. But if I find myself anxiety or just scrolling, I'm like, no, you can't do that in the morning. Put your phone away, go do your practice, But I give myself that time for breath work, for journaling, for writing, for connecting before I start working. And what happens when I do that, I get into that sacred space versus that give space. And as an empath, if I wake up and I go to social media, if I go to I'm giving already. But wait, why don't I fill my cup up first so that when I'm giving from this overflow of I feel good, I feel powerful, I feel beautiful, I feel strong, I know who I am, I know what my intention is. And this is another thing I do in the morning. I set my intention for the day. My intention might be, I want to relax today, so I'm not answering 100 emails today. My intention might be like, oh, I want to go hard on my workout today. I'm feeling really weak. All right, I'm going to spend an extra 30 minutes there, right? My intention might be, I want to connect with my friends. So I'm making sure that I cut my work at 5 and I text friends I want to hang out this evening, right? So I have that sacred time in the morning, water, green juice, smoothie. I fill myself up, and then I work from 11 to 5. Now, when I work, podcasts, meetings, like all the things, 11 to 5. And then after 5, that's my cutoff. That's when friends, family, Zoom calls, dinners, dates, even solo dates now. I have dates, real dates, like with a guy, and then I have solo dates where I just date myself and just take myself out, whatever it is I want to do.
No way.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so very, very important. And I got this from my girl, Kimberly Snyder, because I was just like, I just heard her on the podcast, and she was just like, yeah, and she's a mama, and she's like, yeah, I just got to love myself up. I was like, I'm doing that. And I started right away with solo dates.
What's like a typical solo date?
A typical solo date is, I love food and flowers. So I'll just go to Whole Foods. I'll buy myself flowers, and I'll buy myself whatever meal I've been wanting to make because I love food. So I was like, I'm going to make myself. And another thing is, like, I normally cook food for other people, but I don't just cook for myself, like really like a nice gourmet like meal. And so I'll buy myself flowers, and I'll pick a meal, and I'll cook for myself. And then I'll give myself a massage. I'll play the music that I want to hear, literally however, I might take myself for a mani-pedi. I might go get my hair done, like whatever it is that I want. And in the middle of the day, I always ask myself, and so I know how I need to love myself. I ask myself 2 questions, and it's in my phone. How do you feel? And what do you need?
So is this like a reminder that pops up?
This is a reminder that pops up in them. And I
need
highly
this.
suggest this to every
I'm setting it up right now.
overachieving woman.
Holy moly, this is a big one.
Because again, even like going through 11 to 5, it's like too much to be working like straight on. And I will work. Sometimes I don't eat. I don't pay attention to I'm just back to back to back to back meetings. And so when I have that alert, it's like, how do I feel hungry? What do I need? Food. How do I feel frustrated? What do I need? A walk outside to get some vitamin D, right? So it's like me really checking in with myself so I can show up as my best.
Yeah.
Because if I get drained, I'm not showing up 100%.
Okay, so for example, how do I feel? What do I need? If you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling overwhelmed, and you say, well, what do I do then?
For me, it could be different for either person, but anxiety, I specifically do breath work.
Okay.
Like breathing, because it calms my anxiety the fastest. Frustrations, I go for a walk. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
She's like, I need this. And that's oxygen. That's like, I need to get oxygen into my body. When you yawn, it means I'm getting oxygen because I stopped breathing. So maybe whether it be something I said or whatever. And that's another thing that we can get into, how so many times in life we're not breathing fully.
Oh, yeah. Whenever someone says breathe, that's when I actually am like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's when I start yawning. Okay. But what if you feel overwhelmed?
If I feel overwhelmed, it's like, is there anything in my schedule that I can take off? Is there anything that it will not ruin the world if I don't do it today? And I just start I'll just say, okay, can we move this meeting to another if I'm overwhelmed? Or I'll just so this is another thing I do. And I think it's so important if you have back-to-backs. I start my meetings at like 3:15, 12:15, just to give myself that 15-minute buffer to use the bathroom, to grab a snack.
Oh my God, I've been so bad about that my whole life. I do it right on the butt up against. I stack.
Right.
Like you were like, are you totally stacked? And I'm like, how does she know me?
Right. Because I know I've been through that, but it's so refreshing. And then I look at my schedule and I'll say, wait a minute, why don't I have my 15-minute buffer now? Like now, even if I know I can do it, I'm like, oh, please schedule me a 15-minute. And people hate it because it's different, but it's like, no, 45-minute meetings. We only use 60 hours because we said we were going to use 60 hours. How about some 30-minute meetings? It really doesn't take that. Does it really have to take that long?
I know.
Right? And if it does, let's have another meeting, And so it's like we teach people how to treat us, and we forget that we have the power to craft our lives however we want. That is our power. Yeah. That is our right. So my goal is to encourage every single person listening, craft your life. And if you're a workaholic, like myself, cut out some sacred time for yourself in the morning and in the evening. And this is for your kids, for your partners. I mean, they're going to feel happier too that they have some time with you. And every person in my life, it's contagious. They're like, oh, I need to do this too. And it feels good because then you have more uninterrupted time together where no one's answering the phone or on their phone or watching TV. And you have more presence, right? And the work gets done. Like I was saying before we started, people are needy by nature. They're always going to need you. You're always going to be valuable. And if you allow yourself to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., people are going to need you for that full time. Yep. And the more you section it, the more you'll find time to love yourself. The more you love yourself, the more you can love the world. I'll repeat that. The more you love yourself, the more you can love the world. The more each and every one of us loves ourselves, the more the world will heal. But we think it's us reaching outside ourselves and trying to this cause and that cause. The cause is inside.
That's what I think. That's why I've been working on myself all this time. It's because I know that if I can't do it, I can't. It's a ripple effect that starts with you. Like you come in and you're like, oh, 11 to 5. I'm like, okay, we have both worked the same amount of time in our lives, basically. Yeah. And you have learned, I've learned, I have done a lot of this. I falter sometimes.
Mm-hmm. We all do.
I just like a little, but it's the same thing. Like I tell like these guys, you guys are young. This is your time to hustle. And then at some point, you start to figure out how to, finesse some things once you've kind of landed a little. Yeah. But it still doesn't mean that when you're hustling, you can't carve out time for yourself.
No, I think we should teach from children and above, like you have some time in your day to work and then time in your day to play.
Yeah.
our inner child had, started to be abused as a young age when we're taught that we have to be parents so young and we're not able to live out our childhood. And blessed are those parents that actually tell their children, no, you're going to go play.
Yeah.
Not like you work and then you do work and then you come home and do more work, but again, that's how they're living. So they're just teaching what they know. So I think it's so important for us to talk about what does it look like to play just as much as you work, to practice self-care just as much as you work. The work is still going to get done and it's still going to be there. What I feel is that when you nurture yourself more, a lot of the problems, you're going to be more present to people's pain.
You're more clear to handle things, faster, everything.
Right. You realize that it's not how much money you can print. It's how many people you can touch and help and heal. What is money going to get you at the end of the day if you don't feel good? You and I have, seen like so many people with all the money in the world and they're still unhappy and sick.
And or unhealthy.
And frustrated. So we know it's not the money. And every one of us, no matter how much we have or don't have to ask ourselves, am I happy?
Yeah.
And how can I set myself up? How can I set my life up? How can I ask for the help that I need so that I can feel happy and so that I can feel healthy? And if we're all asking ourselves that question, I think we can all help each other.
Yeah, I like that. It was when I was in Italy, I felt, first of all, such a connection there. And I just loved it so much. Have you been?
Have I been to Italy? I haven't been to Italy.
Oh my God.
No.
Oh my God. It's amazing. And I was telling these guys, I said, I'm going to figure out a way where we can work there 2 to 3 months out of the year, do the show from there, and then live. Like Kelsey and I did our, without knowing it, the prototype was we were in Connecticut last year and we would work during the day. And then the weekends we would go and explore all of New England and go have fun. Yeah. And that was totally foreign to me because I never did that before. When you talk about your formative years, I grew up in a nightclub cleaning with my parents. So it was all work. And then maybe on a Sunday after we were done, we got to go be with our cousins and then we would get to play. But there was so little of that and so much of the other stuff that's just what's been ingrained in me.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's like a deep programming that I have to fight a lot.
Yeah. We have so much in common. My grandparents were janitors and I cleaned houses with them growing up. But the one thing that I learned cleaning houses is that as long as you enjoy what you're doing and it brings you joy, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I think that's important for every person to hear. It's not what brings me joy or what brings Maria joy. It's what brings you joy. And is what you're doing bringing you joy? And my grandparents would sing and we'd laugh and then we'd go grab something to eat after. And they just enjoyed their work.
Yeah.
And
we were together.
Yeah, and we were together. Now, there was a point when they stopped enjoying it. And what happened? They quit. Right? And I think that's what we need to get used to doing. Sometimes we feel like we have to do one thing for our entire lives, right? And I think me and you are in the school of thought. We're multi-passionate people. So it's you do it and when it doesn't bring you any joy, let it go, right? Just let it go.
Quitting, it's letting go.
Yeah, it's just letting go and realizing that as we enjoy this human experience, it's okay to experience whatever you want to experience. Now, some people don't have the opportunity to experience as much. And that's where my heart goes, for the people who do not have food to eat, do not have shelter, are in these terrible places in life. And I think, if that were me, what would I do? And one of the reasons I love California is because I see people who are houseless out on the beach, in the water. And sometimes I just look and I just observe, and sometimes I talk and have conversations and I realize that what is the difference between someone who is homeless and happy and free and enjoying every day and someone who has all the wealth they can think of and enjoying every day, and someone who has all the wealth and doesn't enjoy and angry with life, and someone who is houseless and doesn't enjoy life? It's just perception. No matter where we are in life, some of us are happy. And some of us, I've talked to a homeless person and I was just like, what if you got like this much money? Like, you know what? I'd still be right here on the beach. I'd still be right here. I'll probably get a nicer this or that, and they love this environment. And believe it or not, there are some people out there who are just like, I'm right here. This is me right here. I mean, granted, we're in California. I don't think anywhere, I don't know if anywhere else in the world people, but it just gave me perspective on what we think is healthy is not necessarily healthy to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we have these conversations with people that are different so we can realize, what do people need? Now, food, clothing, shelter, these simple things, if we as a collective aren't as so greedy, we can actually have food, clothing, and shelter for every person in the world. But we have to have these conversations and we have to ask people what they need. I was with this program and I love it. It's called Foods Not Bombs. And we went down to Skid Row, and most of the people down there were veterans. They served our country. They put themselves on the line. And they're suffering mental illnesses and things like that. And that's why they're on drugs. And people were like, well, they chose that life.
Yeah, they chose it for us. They chose to put themselves in a situation where they know all of these things are possible.
Right.
And that's the best case scenario. The worst is obviously getting killed in the line of duty. But I watched that Jon Stewart thing and I was like, if they all protested, could things change? I mean, the guy who's in charge of the purse strings said it's not a money thing. We have the money. And yet all of these people are dying because they're trying to get complete confirmation scientifically that these things are all connected to their line of duty. And it's like, first of all, anything that happens to them at this point, unless it was blatantly not in the line of duty, should just be taken care of. It just should.
That's the thing. We don't have as a government, we don't have enough compassion for human beings. That's the thing. That's period. We can take case by case, every person in the world that's suffering could have it easier if our government gave a care about actual humans, so we know that as a community, as a government, we have to do better. We have to really care. And again, just like that self, it goes back to self though. Am I really caring for myself if I'm just doing the lip service and not actually taking care of myself? Most of these people don't even know how to take care of themselves. So how the heck do we think we're going to get into their head of how to take care of someone who is hungry, who is not like them, who doesn't look like them, who doesn't have the same socioeconomic status as them? How? So that's my goal, is just to help people realize when there's a lack of self-love and lack of self-care, because it's only when we get people on an individual level are we going to be able to get people on a collective level.
So true. So true.
So crazy.
Man, we could talk forever.
We could. I know.
I mean, P.S. I have all these questions that we didn't even get to.
I forgot we're on a podcast. I was just dropping it with you right now.
Yeah, but it's so true. All of it. And I think that is like the biggest lesson of this whole hour, I think, is you have to love. People say it, but you're saying it in a different way, I think.
Yeah.
Or like you're reaching, I think, me and probably you guys, and you can jump in too. But if you don't really love yourself, you're always going to come from depleted anger, frustration,
lack,
feeling. And that's not what's going to bring you. You're not going to put your best self forward for others. You're not going to make decisions from an empathic place or from, a good place, because you're not right.
Right.
And so if we get ourselves right, then we can think more clearly and we can act better and do better.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And we are in the middle of just what we're feeling is just collective trauma, right? And when a person is trauma, they're like, okay, I got to get more. I got to get more. So the people, the 1% that's like, oh, like all these things, all this control, it's trauma, right? Because it's like you have everything you could possibly want. Why not give more, help more? But again, they're in a trauma state, like, I got to have more control, more power, more. I have to have the most. And so that mentality is a lack mentality. That's not in alignment with love. So if we can realize, like, hey, no matter what, if these people are suffering, you're actually part of that suffering, right? And if we're not able to break that down, then it's going to be hard to get someone who is in a power trip to actually care. But it's like, it's not until they have that child that maybe has a disability and and then they find some compassion, or that person that's different that looks them in their eyes and changes them. Then they're like, wait a minute. Why am I energetically? They see that God and they're like, oh, and it changes. And you've heard so many people. They're like, I was just crazy and I was doing this. And you hear so many people when they, whether it be find God or when they, you know, have a moment with a child, have a moment with a person, and they drop in and it changes their life. So my goal, like our goal together, is to get people to drop into spirit, to drop into alignment with love, so that we can all heal together. Because it's going to take that. It's not about money. It's not about things. It's about getting in alignment with love. It's about getting in alignment with the divine. And when we can get there and stay there and encourage other people to, like, come here, let's meet in this field together. Like to quote Rumi, let's meet in this field of love. And let's co-create together. That's what I feel is going to help heal humanity.
I love it.
Yeah.
Drop the mic, everybody. That was Koya Webb. Queens, do you have anything to say?
You're fabulous and we love you. And I can't wait to listen to this again and again and again. You know, there was one thing, Koya, in your book that I would love you to just briefly touch on, you know, like saying no to negativity. I think it's so hard. And it sometimes when we're not, you know, and maybe it is loving ourselves, that 50%, we're not aware of the negativity and not aware of like how much it's affecting us.
Yeah.
So I would love you to talk about that a little bit and like, you know, how do we not be fazed by it and like kind of shift out of that into the positive?
Oh, I love this question. Saying no to negativity is important when you find yourself in a cycle, right? Like every day or for multiple times. Number one, I have a program called, 4 Steps to Love. And the first step is acknowledgement. So, right, we don't want a spiritual bypass. We don't want to say the negative isn't there when the negative is. Like, people are in pain, people harming, right? But there's a point where after you acknowledge, you have to go to the next step of, okay, I've acknowledged the problem. Now let me process it. How does this make me feel? Right? Now let me forgive myself. Let me forgive others that I've harmed. And now let me make a plan and set an intention to do things different. Those are the steps, right? But if you're caught just in the negative part, you can't get to the intention and the reality that you want. Because I can say, oh, these people doing this, these people that. But if I don't get to what is the solution, I need to get them to love themselves, to love the world. And I'm stuck in the negative part. And I too am out of alignment with love.
But you can't get them to love themselves.
But I can love myself by moving through this cycle, right? But if I stay here, again, it's a moving through, right? It's like when we go under, if we stay under the water, we drown. But if we move through, we had an experience of the depths of the sea. Right? So it's nothing wrong with acknowledging, going into the darkness, go in there, because that's how you're going to learn to swim, to float, to love. And then you can go through the process yourself, and then you can teach by example. Oh yeah, I was here too. Then I realized if I do this, I felt better. And then if I forgave myself and forgave others, I felt better. And then I set an intention. So take my own example, like the trauma I experienced with sexual assault. This is terrible. For a long time, I didn't forgive the person, nor did I forgive myself. I was stuck in a negative loop. Like, how could you do this to me? How could I allow this to happen to me? Forever. But eventually, I had to process it. This was terrible. It felt bad. Acknowledge it, write it down. And I forgive myself, right? I forgive myself. I forgive this person in whatever toxic state they were in. And now I'm moving down the ladder. Now, what intention do I want to set? I want to share what happened to me and share that I didn't stay in that negative place of judgment and fear, but I moved here. And my intention is to share my story so no one will stay in that negative loop thinking that anything that happened to you in your life defines you. Your love, period, no matter what. And so now I'm setting the intention to be love, to be light. And so I move from here to here. Now that I've done that, I can share that with the persons who harmed me. I can share that with people who have been harmed. I can share with anyone going through trauma. You don't have to stay here. And when you stay here, it's dark and it's painful. And you can stay here as long as you want. But when you're ready for your healing, you can take that journey back to love. And when you align with love, it's not only healing for yourself, but it's healing for others at the same time. So that's the journey to love, right? But it's always available for us. It's never not available.
Very cool.
Damn.
All right, guys. So the book, Let Your Fears Make You Fierce, How to Turn Common Obstacles into Seeds for Growth, is out now. We'll link it in the description of the show. You can find Koya on Instagram at Koya Webb, KoyaWebb. Her website, koyawebb.com. We'll put links to all of this in the summary of the episode. And that is it. In the meantime, I hope you guys replay this because I think it's worth replaying.
I agree.
And share it with your friends, share it with anybody who is stuck, who is maybe unhappy, who has dealt with trauma. I think it'll be helpful to all of them. And be nice people, make good choices, and be present.